Well, firstly, it's a real honor to be here today. I really am grateful for being asked here, and I just want to say hi to everyone here. I get very inspired when I see creatives from Cape Town, because it just shows me what an amazingly creative city this is that we all live in. But the other thing is that what I wanted to mention is that the talents that you guys have got, that I've got, is a unique thing, and we're very lucky that we've got what we've got, that we're able to express ourselves, because the bulk of the world doesn't get anywhere close to what we get. And I'm talking about people who've never had education or opportunity, and all of us here that I'm looking at here have all got phenomenal opportunity, and that you must never ever forget, that we're in a very, very special place in our lives, and it's a real blessing to be here. So for me, what I'm going to talk about very briefly is, I'm going to start just mentioning to you who I am, where I was, where I am, where I'm going, and then more importantly, you. That's the most important thing. So, firstly, they mentioned my name is Paul van der Spuy. I do have an identical twin brother, devastatingly good-looking man. He is not in the same industry as me. He was in the airline industry, but he's probably, after my wife, he's my single best friend. And I'm actually quite stupid. I was, when I was at school in Pretoria Boys High, in matric, we had grades. We had A, B, C, D, E, F, G grade was the lowest of the grades. And I came second last in G. So I'm quite proud of that. But I did very, very well with art. I had Walter Battis as my art master, which was a phenomenal blessing for those of you who do know who he is. I got, I think it was 12 or 14% for history of art, but I got the highest marks in the transfer for practical art. So my strength was already coming through at that stage of my life. But I never knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a cinematographer, but my folks didn't have the money, I didn't have the money to go overseas and study at London Polytechnic. And I then, after doing lots of different terrible jobs as a building cleaner and all sorts of stuff, I got a job at a company called Budget Rent-A-Car, and they wanted me to be a manager. I was more like the damager, and I got fired brutally. And I was quite devastated. I felt like a real loser, and I then got offered a job as a rep for a company called Man About Town in Durban, which was a suit company. And in the process of being with these guys, even though clothing is not at all my passion, I did discover that I had a unique ability to find out what was needed in the industry. And I came up with a concept that I told a friend of mine about, and it just took off unbelievably. He used it, and he then offered me a job to come and work for a company which today is Carducci. I launched a brand called Carducci in 1978, which was a suit brand. And from there, I applied a lot of the skills I'd learned as a young rep, selling to people in the Indian tailors in Durban, who taught me a lot about tailoring. And I started this brand called Carducci, and it grew unbelievably. Compared to what it is today, in those days, the factory I was with, we were doing something like 50 kilometers of fabric a day. One of the fabrics that I developed myself for Carducci, which my boss, when I tried to do it, said over his dead body would I do it, and I did do it. And the MD of Carducci, of the House of Monatic, which is part of Carducci, told me the other day that that particular fabric has sold 767,000 kilometers, which is to the moon and back. So it was a very successful fabric, but I prefer the smaller stuff. So from Carducci I got very, very frustrated, and I opened up my own clothing stores. The name was called Frankie Owners, which comes from the expression to be perfectly frank and earnest. And I must say we were very lucky with that. How do I go on to the, have you done? Yeah, next one, I'll just push it. There, that's too technical for me, this stuff. Okay, so that's a store that we opened up in 1987. It was groundbreaking. It was different to anything that had ever been done before. It was based on all the clothing that I believed in that I could never express myself with at Carducci. And we opened up on the 1st of November 1987, and by the 15th of December we didn't have a single button left in the shop. We had queues of people buying from us, and we expanded that into about into 5 stores. Ultimately, I've got to take a lot of the blame for it, as a lot of us clothing designers are not good at business, but we closed the business in 1991, and I lost everything that I'd ever had in my life. And I just got married to my wonderful wife. I think we've been married for about 2 weeks. We were living in Johannesburg. She's a top ballet dancer, probably the best the country's ever seen, I reckon. And she was at the peak of her career, and I had to move back to Cape Town with not a cent in my pocket to try and get back to where I was. And at that stage of my life, I'd won a lot of fashion awards in South Africa. I was actually the king, quite honestly. I really was the king in everything that I did there, from Carducci through to Frankie Owners. But I had nothing. I had nothing. And I remember I hitchhiked down to Cape Town. I think it was in August or September of that year. I got a lift from some guy, and I was too shy. I was too proud to actually tell him I didn't have money when he stopped to buy food. And I told him I've got an upset stomach, I can't eat. And we got all the way to Cape Town at about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I had these crazy ties that I'd made, my own ties, these crazy. This picture isn't a good representation. Maybe the one flowery one is. That's my twin brother with me. But I had these 10 or 12 crazy ties that I'd made up, and nothing to my name. And I was standing in the icy, cold rain, and at 7 o'clock, the guy that runs the market came along, and he said to me, I asked him if I could get a table. He said, well, it's all fully booked out. There's not a chance. This was on Green Market Square, which was the biscuit mill of the day. And so because it was raining so heavily, I was able to get a table, and he said, that'll be 35 Rand. And I said, well, do you mind if I pay you later? And he said, you better pay me by 11 o'clock. And the rain just kept pouring down, and he gave me this funny little door that looked similar to this, absolutely drenched, wet, no tablecloth, nothing. And at about 20 past 11, the rain stopped, and I took these ties out, put them on the table, and sold them all for 30 Rand each one within about 20 minutes. And took that money, the 360 Rand, paid my 35 Rand for the table, got some food to eat, bought some more fabric, got some more ties made, came back, managed to get on again, and it started growing. And by December that year, between myself, my wife, and one machinist, and another guy called Adi, who eventually joined me, but I would cut the ties at night. I would go early morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, fuse them. I would then, my wife would arrive, the machinist would arrive, the machinist would start making, my wife would start ironing. I'd go down to the market and start selling. And by December, I was averaging something like 100 ties a day. And I think I was probably the biggest tie sales in the world per square meter. No one came close to me. I mean, you're just talking a door. And it was crazy. And people said, but you can't wear ties like that. These are mad ties. I'll never wear. I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a this or whatever. I can't wear these ties. And I said to the guys, this is your Friday tie. On a Friday, you're allowed to wear any tie you like. So people would say that. And eventually, then people started wearing those ties. And that allowed me to suddenly start making money again and getting back into the game. And I eventually got quite frustrated with it because it wasn't creative enough for me. Even though it was probably the happiest time of my life, my wife says the worst time of her life. But for me, it was the happiest. She said she can't believe a guy like me who had achieved everything was suddenly standing on the market just selling these little ties. But for me, it was the happiest time of my life because I was totally free and I could do whatever I wanted. And then I got frustrated with the sense that I wanted to design more stuff. So I gave the tie company to Adi, this young guy who worked with me, and I opened up a clothing store called Wild Oscar. That's just a picture of it, but Wild Oscar came from, what's his name? Oscar Wilde wrote The Importance of Being Earnest, and obviously I had Frankie Owners before, so Wild Oscar had to be after that. And again, those stores did very, very well. They were very quirky, very fun, full of expression, and all the stuff that applied to my life at that point. While I'm about it, I'll just tell you that my name is Paul van der Spuy,
but I'm changing it to Paul Fun Let's Play, because that's far more important. Life is far too important to be taken seriously. So for all of you creatives out there, just stop being serious. You weren't born to be. Just fun, let's play. So anyway, so that went very well. Had lots of fun with it. Again, I lost everything. I got taken by a guy, but that was my mistake. I should never have allowed it. And I then became just like a lateral thinker. I've got a little studio set up, not a studio, it's up in the air, but called the Lateral Studio, because even here I'm in a lateral situation, so quite like far better than looking that way. So a lot of people use me for lateral thinking and stuff like that. I'm very good with coming up with quirky words and expressions. So during that time I helped the Platinum Group, with the ex-Platinum Group, to start Hilton Wiener that they had bought, and for 2.5 years I did all their creative stuff. I designed some of their shops and the clothing for them. And sorry, that was before Wild Oscar. But that's something else that I've done. I then, what did I do? Lots of other bits and pieces. I did the re-jeans concept for Woolworths. They wanted me to come up with a name that wasn't a name, and a label that wasn't a label, to try and get young people to buy clothing at Woolworths, because you had only the grey rinse, which is like me these days, but the grey rinse brigade buying all their old Woolworths elasticated jeans, and they wanted to get the younger people, and so they briefed me and they asked me to come up with this concept, and I was busy writing down what they wanted. I said, okay, read the name, read the product, read this, and while they're talking to me, I thought, we've got the name, we've got Re. And they then flew me around the world to go and get inspired, which I didn't need. And so I gained something out of that. And then the next one that came along was the blue collar, white collar, which is the current thing. Blue collar, white collar I always wanted to do, because I've always liked industrial clothing, but I come from a formal suiting background as well, but I'm more a blue collar guy. I like motorbikes. And for you girls that don't know this, the true meaning of love, it's not my quote, but the true meaning of love, and you girls think you know this, but you don't, is the feeling that you get when you like something almost as much as your motorbike. Okay? So, and my wife knows that. So I love industrial clothing, and I love the formal clothing, and that's why the blue collar worker is obviously a factory worker, and the white collar worker is an office worker. So it's a combination of that in my stalls. I sold that business 2 years ago, for those of you who don't know, but I did. It was always my dream too, and I've been the creative director of the group for 2 years. We've grown the business. My challenge to myself when we sold it was to reinvent myself, which is what I believe. You get the 7-year itch with these things, and you have to reinvent. And so what I did was I challenged myself. I said to myself, there's someone out there called Paul. He's got shops called Blue Collar, White Collar. You have to beat him. How are you going to beat him? So I deleted everything that I'd ever known, and I started off almost as though I've got to do something, and how would I do it? So my new stores were totally different to what I'd ever done before, using natural elements, and for those of you who haven't been there, go and have a look at it sometime, but we've had a phenomenal reaction. I've been very blessed with the way people have responded to it. And as you'll see in the picture, it does have a motorbike, which I think is quite important. But I have sold the business. I'm still there. I'm now becoming a consultant to the brand, and I'm about to do something new. I've got a bit small. I don't like big. We've become massive, and so I'm going probably even smaller than this table now again. I've got a new brand that I'm bringing out called Proper. So I'm going to be doing very tiny collections of stuff called Proper. And it's a name that came up because people use it so often when they like something, when they really like something, say, no, that's Proper. And so it's going to become a natural part of my life. It's going to involve ties, which I've reinvented. My brief to myself was, I don't know if there's anyone with a tie here, which is quite a good sign. But we wear ties when we go to funerals, weddings, and interviews, and whatever. And why? Because we have to. I'm designing ties that we want to. So I'm bringing back sex into ties for guys. They're going to be sexy things. They're going to be raw and rugged, made out of old military tent canvas, made out of raw linens, raw stuff, but it's going to be wild, but very wearable, and it's going to add a lot of personality and value to men's clothing. So that's where I'm going. And in the last 3 years, I've also been involved in a very interesting bar called the House of Machines, which is a result of my passion for motorbikes and lifestyle. And that bar, you guys should all get to if you haven't been there. We're not cheap. We like to steal your money. But it's of an exceptional quality. The partners who are actually in the business with me they really know how to make it happen. And we've got the best beer, we've got the best coffee, the best bourbons. We honestly do. And it's been a phenomenal success for me. But the most important thing that I want to speak about today is you guys, the creatives. You know, we've all got this amazing talent. And in fact, I've got to the point in my life which I've realized I can actually design anything. It doesn't matter. All design is the same. The philosophy is the same. You can actually, if someone asks me to design a name, a shoe, a building, a car, a cot, or clothing, it's all the same. The formula, the principles are all the same. And we all have that. We all have that in us and that ability. But fear drives a lot of us. And you know, like me, stepping out on my own and going into a business, most people say, geez, but that's a fearful thing. To me, it's not. It's the most exciting opportunity because I've learned, and when I lost that money with my tires, I've learned that you don't lose. You never, ever lose. You only gain because I'm a lot older probably than all of you guys put together. But what I've learned is that as my body depletes and, you know, I get like more and more down here, that my mind, my ability and my knowledge and the experience is way past what any of you guys have got only because of time. And I really mean that in a humble way. And you'll discover it as you get older that you actually get better. Oscar Niemeyer died last year, one of the world's greatest architects. At the age of 104, he was still designing one of his greatest buildings. He was 104. So creatives, we are so lucky, you know, the accountants and all these other guys, they suddenly like 63, 64, retire and die, okay? We don't. We actually just keep going. And that's the wonderful thing about what we are as creatives. We get better and stronger. And you must never forget that, and you must never have fear. And if you decide, for all of you out here, I want you to read a poem. Remember this poem, it's called You Start Dying Slowly, written by Pablo Neruda, who's one of my superhero poets. Read that poem and see what it does to your life. But for any of you that want to step out there and fail, you haven't failed, you've succeeded, you've gone way past because you've just gained so much out of that. And it's only part of a journey. And when you lose money, you've lost nothing. Okay, so you're not going to have coffee today. But you'll find a way, and ultimately you'll get bigger and bigger and stronger. So for creative people, we misunderstood. Most of us are misunderstood, and we're in a lonely place because people don't understand us. I mean, you know, I must admit I'm a bit off the wall. People in the corporate world don't really know how to relate to me, but I do, and I think you guys do. But that's our strength. Our strength is our uniqueness. Each one of you individually has got a phenomenal strength, and the strength is you. But my question to me is, what are you guys doing about your personal brand? You know, most of us design for other people and build a brand. What are you doing for yourselves? What are you doing to make your brand powerful? What are you doing so that people notice you? And one of my problems I have today is that when I sell my businesses, I've got to go along because I'm the brand. So that is a danger. But you need to build your own strength for who you are. And that's when you become a power and a creative force. And we too often focus on trying to make other brands famous. And there's only one you, and one day you won't be there. So while you've got it, use that phenomenal talent that you've got as a brand and build that brand, because that's the most important thing that I want to give all of you today is build your brand, and you are number one. Put yourself first before anything, then you put your family, then you put your business in that order. Otherwise you die. Most of us put the business first, then we put the family, and then we come last. And because of that, we can never rise above. And for me, that's the one word I just want to try and give all of you, just to remember. You come first. There's only one of you. You're unique and you're special, and you've got much more. And don't worry about losing. You won't lose. You only lose money. Nothing else to lose. And that's all I want to say. Thanks for coming, eh? Cheers.